Hey everyone, welcome back to today's featured book from the OYNYO bookshop in Burnley Market Hall, where we dive deep into some of the best reads out there. And today we're taking a look at Lucky You by Hiaasen. It's a wild ride through Florida filled with humour, crime and a bit of social commentary. If you're into crazy plots, offbeat characters and a good laugh, stick around because this book has it all. Let's jump into it. So what's Lucky You all about? On the surface, it's about a woman named Jolene Lux who wins the lottery, a massive $14 million jackpot. And you'd think life would be all roses after that, but it turns out two men, Shad Grange and Bord Gaza, also had the same winning numbers. But unlike Jolene, they didn't actually buy a ticket. These two clowns got the numbers from a newspaper horoscope. They read them as some kind of sign, thinking it was destiny. But they were too cheap or too incompetent to actually buy a ticket. Instead of taking the loss gracefully, they decided to steal her ticket and take the money for themselves in the name of some wild, twisted, patriotic cause. Jolene, a black woman who's determined to use her winnings to buy a tract of Florida land to save it from development, suddenly finds herself caught up in a dangerous chase. From there, the story turns into this madcap adventure where Jolene teams up with a disgruntled journalist, Tom Crome, who has his own reasons for chasing a big story and his own issues. Together they go on this crazy journey to outsmart the two bumbling but dangerous criminals. Let's dig a little deeper into the plot, because this book really takes off with twists and turns. Jolene, who lives in a small Florida town, is completely content with her life before winning the lottery. She works at a vet clinic and has a passion for nature and Florida's wildlife. After winning, she's got this amazing plan to use the money for a greater good, to buy a piece of land to stop it from being turned into yet another suburban development. She's one of those characters with a real sense of purpose, and that's something I really love about her. Things go south fast when Shad and Bord, these two neo-Nazi wannabe militiamen, find out she's the other lottery winner. They believe her skin colour vindicates their conspiracy theory that the government is keeping Christian white men from winning the lottery, and that the lottery money is their ticket to fund their crazy plan to create a white supremacist militia in Florida. So they hatch this ridiculous but still dangerous plan to steal Jolene's ticket. What makes them even more dangerous is their sheer stupidity, because in Hiaasen's world, stupidity is often as dangerous as any weapon. Now, as with any Hiaasen novel, the setting, Florida, is basically a character in itself. I always think that Hiaasen captures the chaotic energy of Florida in a way that's both hilarious and biting. Florida, with its swamps, wildlife, quirky locals and political messes, becomes the perfect backdrop for these kind of zany crime capers. And honestly, I was thinking, what if Jolene or the criminals were here in Burnley? Imagine them getting mixed up in the Burnley countryside, or trying their antics in our local markets. It would be a whole new kind of chaos. Hiaasen's style is a way of making you feel like the story could explode in any small town, just like Burnley. One thing Hiaasen does in Lucky You that's so entertaining is his obsession with revenge of animals on humans. In this book we see that with a stingray and a blue crab, and let me tell you, these animals get their own moments of justice in the most unexpected and hilarious ways. It's almost as if nature itself has had enough of the humans' nonsense and decided to strike back. Now let's talk about the characters. Jolene is one of the most resourceful protagonists I've ever come across. She's strong and clever, and despite the craziness happening around her, she remains focused on her goals of saving Florida's land. On the other side, Shad and Bord are your classic Hiaasen villains. So misguided and disillusional that they're almost comical. It's not about their capability as criminals, it's about the absurdity of their beliefs and the chaotic ways they try to achieve them. Now let's talk a bit about the mastermind behind all of this, Carl Hiaasen. If you're not familiar with Hiaasen, he's one of Florida's most beloved authors, known for his darkly comedic crime novels that take on everything from corruption and environmental issues to absurd human behaviour. Hiaasen actually started out as a journalist and wrote extensively about Florida's environmental problems with the Miami Herald, where he also covered political corruption. And it's easy to see that that background influences his fiction. His stories often weave together environmental themes, corrupt politicians, and over-the-top criminals. Lucky You was published in 1997, and it's one of his many novels set in Florida. What makes Hiaasen's work stand out is that he's got an amazing ability to satirise the madness of Florida life, but also inject real messages about conservation and corruption without making the story feel heavy-handed. That's why his books are so fun to read. They make you laugh, but they also make you think. Let's take a moment to dive into a couple of key quotes from Lucky You. One that really stuck out to me is when Jolene says, "People don't take care of what belongs to everybody." That's a powerful line because it speaks to one of the core themes of the novel, how people neglect the environment and public spaces because they don't feel a personal responsibility for them. Jolene's mission to use her lottery winnings to save land from developers comes directly from this frustration. It's a bit of social commentary that feels even more relevant today. Another one is from the character Tom Crome, the journalist who gets caught up in the madness. He says, "Florida is full of big dreams and broken promises. All the lunatics end up here." This quote perfectly encapsulates the vibe of this entire novel and the honesty in a lot of Hiaasen's work. Florida is this land of extremes where dreams and chaos collide. It's a state where anything can happen, and usually does. And let's be real, that chaotic energy could just as easily be applied to Burnley on a wild day. Tom Crone, the cynical journalist, has another quote that really stands out. He says, "It's hard to be brave when you're a coward." This quote really captures Crone's character arc. He starts out as this jaded, self-absorbed reporter, but as the story unfolds, he's forced to confront his own fears and doubts. It's a line that's both funny and a little sad because it speaks to how many people feel trapped in their own decisions or fear of change. Hiaasen is great at giving these moments of insight through humour. And one more that really gets to the heart of the absurdity in this book comes from Bori Gaza, one of the bumbling criminals. He says, "Who needs brains when you've got guns?" That line sums up Bord and Shad perfectly. These two aren't exactly the sharpest tools in the shed, but they think brute force will solve everything. It's Hiaasen's way of poking fun at the stupidity and recklessness of certain characters, and also a little bit of a jab at the larger social commentary in this book about how society as a whole is quite bruteful. You'll see a lot of this kind of satire throughout Lucky You. One of the things that makes Lucky You such a wild, unpredictable ride is the sheer variety of themes and absurd elements that Carl Hiaasen packs into the story. It's not just about a stolen lottery ticket, it's about racism, greed, and the eternal battle between good and evil. But then you also get these bizarre, off-the-wall details, like the face of Jesus appearing in frozen cheese sandwiches, weeping Madonna idols in oil stains on the pavement, or a man drilling holes in his hands to fake stigmata for donations. It's a mix of voodoo curses, glue sniffing, irrational hatred, and even baby turtles. The characters are surrounded by mayhem and madness, Hooters waitresses, corrupt judges, reckless rednecks with AK-47s, and skinheads, all crashed together in this crazy world Hiaasen creates. It's almost like a fever dream. Unicorns, pink eye, blue fingernails, pepperoni pizza, and even virgins somehow make their way into the plot. And yet, through all the chaos, Hiaasen manages to tie it all back to a deeper theme about human nature, corruption, and survival. It's one of the reasons his books are so unforgettable. You never know what absurdity is coming next, but it all somehow fits perfectly into the story. So to sum it all up, Lucky You by Carl Hiaasen is a fast-paced, hilarious adventure with quirky characters, bizarre twists and some sharp social commentary. Whether you're into crime novels, dark comedies or stories that will make you laugh out loud while still making you think, this one's worth picking up. And if you're local to Burnley, come down to the OYMYO bookshop at Burnley Market Hall. For those of you who don't know, OYMYO is a non-profit bookshop and all the money we make goes right back into getting more books for the community. So when you buy a book, you're not just supporting local, you're supporting a passion for reading that benefits everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments if you've read Lucky You by Carl Hiaasen or if you're adding it to your reading list. Don't forget to like, subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss tomorrow's featured book. Until next time, happy reading.